আমি মিস্টার সারওয়ার আলম ডাইরেক্টর জেনারেল সাহেবকে আমাদের কনভোকেশন স্পিকারের ভাষণ পাঠ করার জন্য বিনীত অনুরোধ জানাচ্ছি। সারওয়ার আলম।
ঠিক আছে। Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Dipu Moni MP, Honorable Minister of Education, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, respected Vice Chancellor, respected Chairman of the Board of Trustees, respected member of the Board of Trustees, distinguished guests, dignitaries, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and today's graduate, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Let me have the honor to read out speech at convocation of BGMEA, University of Fashion and Technology, 14th day of September 2022, written by Dr. Mashiur Rahman, Economic Affairs Advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Let me begin by conveying the highest regards for His Highness the President and Chancellor of the University. I take this opportunity to pay respect also to Honorable Minister for Education. Let me congratulate new graduates. They will make significant contribution to the development of the country. Business has to make room for their professionalism. I'm grateful to the university for inviting me as the convocation speaker. It is a great honor for a person who doesn't have academic credentials. The conventional theory assumes that growth follows automatically from conducive materials and institutional conditions. Joseph Schumpeter felt that human action by design is crucial for realization of the potential. Human agents who take those actions are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are distinguished by creative response to material and institutional conditions. They introduce new technologies, new products, find new markets and new sources of materials, adopt new organizational forms and management methods. The innovation effected by them make obsolete the old ways of business and have an irreversible impact on economy and society. Entrepreneurship can function in diverse organizational structure, for example, ownership, partnership, large corporation, companies. Leadership is crucial for innovation in any organizational form, particularly in large companies. In Schumpeter's view, entrepreneurs are not Marxist class in the Marxian capitalist class in the Marxian sense. They are recruited from any strata of the society and are as likely to succeed as fail back into the class from which they had arisen. Creative credit makes investment independent of ownership of capital resources. A successful entrepreneur becomes a capitalist, keen on protecting a decaying sector and averse to change, rent seekers. Resistance to change and rent-seeking impede evolution and growth. Innovation creates and sustains capitalism, which secures higher standard of living for all members of the society. Quote, capitalism doesn't produce an additional pair of socks for the royalty, but a pair for every seamstress, unquote. In this view, capitalism coheres with just society, albeit in a narrow and utilitarian sense. The 20th century witnessed a strong growth of capitalism, facilitated by radical changes in management practices and organizational structure, despite a tendency toward bureaucratization. As used by Max Weber, bureaucracy implies a system of governance grounded in legal, rational rules, which is the foundation of fiduciary institutions and accountability. Overload of procedural rules moves bureaucracy away from the norms. The managerial revolution introduced professionals into business management. Trained managers are at top, who are responsible for planning, allocation of resources, product and market development, coordinations and supervision. The owner ratified the operational and planning decisions of the manager. Management by hundreds of shareholders is not practical. The large companies which dominated the market benefited from scale and scope, that is, production of large quantities and wide variety of goods and large markets and diverse consumer taste with increasing returns and at a falling cost. Internal adjustments or transfer of resources reduced overhead and production costs as well as transaction costs. The reduced cost benefited the consumer and generated surplus for investment, including research and development, which is necessary for success in a competitive market. The corporation shifted from shrinking markets to those that shows potential for growth and from the source of supply that developed bottlenecks to those which are more convenient. Static comparative advantage was replaced by dynamic competitive advantage, and it was recognized that competitiveness could be acquired. The sustained expansion of output led to endogenous growth model and incorporates knowledge. Knowledge is characterized by increasing returns and has multiplier effect. Endogenous growth model predicates returns to scale and thereby overcomes the diminishing returns imposed by neoclassical exogenous growth model. The new trade theory uses scopes and scales and dynamic competitive advantage to explain international trade. Dynamic competitive advantage allows acquisition of new competencies and enable innovation and technology and product as well as access to new market and sourcing. The multinational shift to new sources of supply and new markets to its advantage and to the disadvantage of developing countries. Export of the developing countries is tied to one product or a narrow set of goods using invariant technology and input, especially abundant labor. New technology and diversification of product and market require investment and entail risks that the exporter may not afford. Knowledge grows in a learning society. In a learning society, the adult population has basic education and training that can be employed for efficient production in a flexible manner. There exists institutional access for all children to high-quality basic education. Knowledge is valued for its contribution to economic and moral development of society. In the industrialized economies, public school system opened access to secondary education for the young citizen who constitute the skilled labor force. Institutions at tertiary level were set up for liberal and technical education. Industrial development in the 20th century was based on labor augmenting technology that enhanced labor productivity, generates employment, increases output, and creates mass consumer market. Unemployment benefit mitigates the harshness of job loss and helps create a flexible labor market. Mass production and mass flourishing was the motto of industrial growth. The current technological development tend to substitute machines for labor and create labor redundancy. Robotics threatened unskilled and semi-skilled jobs, but not the job that require reflective knowledge or sophisticated skills. Artificial intelligence changes that perspective. It can take away a large segment of job that require sophisticated skill, for example, medical diagnosis, nursing care, writing routine report, and pressurized doctoral dissertations. Economists are pessimistic or at least uncertain about the impact of artificial intelligence. Jeffrey Sachs and co-authors warn, quote, AI threatened not only reduction of job, wage, and savings of current generation, but also impoverished future generation as a consequence. References NBER Working Paper 2015. The other recognize that artificial intelligence-enabled automation is inevitable. The fourth industrial revolution will have enormous capacity of production but will not generate enough employment, which create income and affects its distribution and the structure of effective demand. Income will tend to concentrate among those who will own the technology and finance the automation. Economists and tech enthusiasts suggest alike expanded income and transfer program, which will be financed by income and wealth tax at higher rates and labor displacement levy in addition. The suggestion hit gridlocks, both political and economic. Martin Ford, a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, suggested that the developed country deficit finance income transfer to the developing country. It is sham. An assessment of the performance of trade and industry and the direction of policy may be derived from the growth experience and the related theoretical paradigms. Trade and industry have done well in the largely protected domestic market as well as in the competitive export market, taking advantage of abundant labor coupled with fiscal incentives and access to targeted low-cost credit. The business model stressed high volume and large profit together with expansion while neglecting development of capability of innovation and investment in the medium or long term. The model confronts challenges as the country enters new trade regime with reduced protection in the domestic market and qualified state support in export market. Industry has to raise productivity to meet the challenge, to which end investment in capital, deepening and skill development of workers and management are necessary. The government may expand and upgrade basic education and basic training along with flexible programs for lifelong education and training so as to avoid obsolescence. Basic knowledge and skill are analogous to general purpose technology and is applied across sectors and enhance productivity and flexibility. The government may continue to provide technical and liberal education at tertiary level necessary for knowledge-based economy. The private sector may take on a large role in providing technical educations at graduate or postgraduate level, which can link better with market demand. Private benefit of higher education is larger than social benefit. Financial and fiscal incentive should be aligned with performance in terms of productivity and the resultant output growth criteria subject to verification. The criteria should be carefully defined in terms of feasible goals of industrial and commercial policies. Incentive is a reward for performance, not forbearance for flaw choice. Taxation may need a deep review and restructuring so that revenue yield increases optimally to finance public investment, incentives to entrepreneurs, and most importantly, universal income insurance, the scope of which will broaden over time. Functional approach to money and finance is useful within limit and targeted delivery, beyond which the policy tools lose efficacy. The modern monetary theory remains prior to mainstream economics despite its populist or sectarian appeal. Fiduciary accountability should improve through improved entrepreneurial behavior and regulatory enforcement rooted in reason for rules. This script for which need to be written carefully depending on the depth and breadth of deviation. A crash reform program doesn't work. The graduate of BUFT receives trainings in management and technical skills. Business has to create a space for them. I'm sure they will play a crucial role in the transformation of the economy. I wish them well and success. Thank you. Joy Bangla.